The nativity scene. Beyond perfect, it gets better. The statues. Okay. Here's what happened. I've been reliving this. When somebody suggested plaster, I thought it came up. Okay, how are we going to shape that like a hand with fingers, etc.? And I think we had even maybe gone to someplace that had mannequins, that built mannequins for department stores in America, but they were really expensive, and it wasn't necessary. But somebody came up with the idea in the kitchen there. They reached for a pair of those heavy-duty rubber gloves. And lickety-split, somebody whipped up a batch of plaster, poured it in one of those rubber gloves, and put a piece of plastic tubing, that heavy-duty plastic, that we were going to make the skeletons out of. And 30 minutes later, they peeled off that glove, and it was a perfect hand. A perfect hand. Nobody could deny it. And I'll bet that, within a few hours, we had cast up a dozen or more hands and had them drying out on the balcony. Speaking of which, one thing we learned about the plaster in Taiwan in around Christmas time. The stuff would not cure. The moisture wouldn't come out of it, and it would remain pasty. And especially those fingers were easy to break off. What did we learn? Put them in the oven on, I think it was about 3 for an hour or so. You cook the water, you bake the water right out of them. They become lightweight, and they became reasonably sturdy. We had to be careful with them. I didn't want to knock them into anything, but once we got them mounted, I remember we all had to stand back and laugh, because it looked good. And then somebody went and bought an old woman's dress, and simply put it on the skeleton with the hands poking out from beneath the sleeves. And we started laughing, thinking, this is going to work. This is actually going to work. Somebody went to the little kids store. We got tempera paint of some kind, water-based paint of a couple of colors. Somebody mixed up tan or brown or pink, slapped it on those plaster hands, maybe a dash of white for fingernails, and it was even better. This left the heads. The heads were cast, in, I believe, either really large balloons, or just in a hanging piece of material, simply to make the equivalent of a ball, a head-sized ball. Cook it in the oven, and then start scratching at it with various utensils. And I remember spoons worked really well. You could scrape them across. In fact, we may very well have sculpted them before we baked them, because it was like clay. It was still very, very moist. People started carving away at these things. At this point, it's irresistible. We've got Hood and his companion coming over. At this point, it's well known that, hey, something incredibly fun and cool is going on out of the Shirley and Sisters apartment. So all four elders, and the project became bigger, and people had more ideas, and then buying old clothing wasn't enough. We needed some flourishes with material that was purchased, yardage that was purchased for a flash of red here, a flash of gold there. And but the heads, I get ahead of myself. No pun intended. Carve, carve, carve. And after a few hours, it becomes obvious, oh my gosh, we're going to be able to carve reasonably realistic features into this plaster. There is a nose. There are brows above the eye sockets. And there is something pretty darn close to a chin there. Oh, watch, says probably Lulu Johnson, as she wraps some material around the head and makes kind of a turban kind of thing. So all of a sudden you can frame the face. And somebody came up with something like hair. On our budget, that probably meant going out to where they shaved the pigs before slaughtering them. Somebody came up with something that looked like hair that could be tucked artistically around what would be an ear. But these were the three wise men, and Mary and Joseph, so they wore stuff on their heads. Somebody started painting them, and I said, okay, what? We're going to have cartoons. We're going to have cartoons. You're going to paint cartoon faces on a life-sized thing that is the same shape as a human face. By the end of another day, somebody had what was undeniably a reasonable facsimile of an old man's face painted onto the plaster base, which someone had fashioned a beard for, which hid the neck, which of course the neck was nothing more than a piece of plastic pipe, but the beard hid it, and then the edges of the beard got tucked behind the headdress, however that looked, shepherd's headdress, wise man's head. Oh no, it's coming back. The shepherds were poor, the wise men were rich. And of course a distinction had to be made. And now I was thinking maybe, look, let's just do silhouettes, okay? We'll shine a big bright light from behind them so nobody will actually be able to look at them. And yeah, the mannequin thing will kind of work in silhouette. No. Each of them became characters. We named them. I remember. We named them. We began personal relationships. We wrote histories for them. As they became more and more realistic, as their costumes became more and more appropriate, so that it would be clear once you looked at them, there are the three wise men bearing gifts because somebody found a box and started applying beads to it. And before long, it was obviously frankincense or myrrh. And I'm really not kidding. It became more and more impressive. The faces became more and more, I don't want to say realistic, but they were not cartoon. It was going to work. And of course, by this time, it had been determined this is not just going to be any nativity scene over in the corner at the jail. Oh no. Oh no, this must be exalted. Word had gotten out. We are going to put this on the roof of the chapel. On the roof of the chapel, we're going to put this. We're going to shine bright lights on it. And, Elder Bradley's companion was Elder Powell. And Elder Powell was the technical guy back then when slide projectors weren't working, when those little weird 8-track movie projectors showing the meaning of life weren't working. He was the guy. He knew how to get the bulbs. He was a camera junkie. And of course, he took over the lights and the sounds because, of course, then there was a soundtrack. There was a soundtrack. This was outdoor theater. The Greeks didn't put on stuff this good. All because of the ever-emerging, ever-perfected mannequins being built under the direction of Sister Susan Lindsay, with her minions now. Who would argue now that this is going to come together? And invitations are being sent out. Posters are being put up around town. People are talking. This is going to be an event, and the nativity scene is going to be the centerpiece of it as it all comes together. Undeniably so. We end up loading these things onto the back of a pickup truck. Lyle Bradley arrives with and not a little pickup truck like, a Toyota pickup truck, a Western pickup truck. Lyle has somehow finagled this out of the LDS military community there, because we're going to need a pickup truck, because we have 3 wise men, couple of shepherds. You got yourself a Joseph and a Mary, a Christ child in a manger, and I think there were some animals. You're going to need a big pickup truck to convey this to the where it goes. Drawing stairs, yes, absolutely drawing stairs, as whoever it was, the AP, drove that pickup truck from the sister's apartment to the jail, delivered it there, where Sister Lindsay deployed us, arranging. How did we get them up there? How did we get them up there? I don't know. I don't remember. And then we needed, of course, to build the structure of not the manger, the baby's in the manger, right? The manger is the thing that the animals eat out of, and that's what they put baby away in a manger. That's where Jesus is, the manger. This is this is where the animals are kept. I don't know what now we're construction workers. Sure. Somebody suggests we're going to lash bamboo together. That'll look realistic, says Elder Meacham. They had so much bamboo in Bethlehem. We're going to lash. What are we, scouts now? 24 hours later, there is a structure so perfect, so angularly perfect, lashed together, bamboo structure, no walls. I will find these pictures as it comes together on the roof. There is a star. There is a star, a dangled star. There are lights. There is a soundtrack. It's a few weeks before Christmas. And I think the press got wind of this because people started visiting the jail early to see what are those crazy Mormons up to now. I don't know, honey. I think they're building robots.
Every day when the work is behind you and the shop and the store put the lock on the door, just get away where your worries won't find you. If you like, well, I'll tell you more. Don't let the day get the better of you. When the evening comes, there's so much to do. You better put on your best and wear a smile. Just come along with me a while, 'cause I tell you, I know a place where the music is fine and the lights are always low. I know a place where we can go. At the door there's a man who will greet you. Then you go downstairs to some tables and chairs. Soon I'm sure you'll be tapping your feet, because the beat is the greatest there. All around there are girls and boys. It's a swinging place, a celebration.